Hi, this is Trey Patcher. This is going to be, I know a lot of people are doing these lists, worst movies of 2018, best movies. I want to put most disappointing movies. That's going to be my list of 10 movies that I have that are most disappointing. I saw a lot of movies this year, and I usually, like I said, I usually go to movies probably like three times a week at least. Not 3 times a week, excuse me, 3 times a month at least. Maybe 4 times, depending on what movies come out. And sometimes I see 2 movies in a weekend. So, I see a lot of movies, over 50 movies a year I go to see in the theater. So I'm a very big movie fan. And I have a list of 10 movies that I'm going to put, and this obviously going to have spoilers in it because I'm going to tell you why these movies are on my list. In no particular order. I'm going to go with, first of all, The Strangers Prey at Night. Of course, this is a sort of a sequel to the Strangers movie that came out a few years ago, the one with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, which was actually a really good movie. It had good suspense, good horror, good pacing in it, and actually, it was actually a really scary movie. I remember that movie came out years ago, and it was just in the way that it ended, with them just walking off, at the end, and you just see them take off their masks and get in the car and just go off. Just made it that more chilling that it could really happen. That's what made that movie so chilling. So when The Strangers Prey at Night came, when that movie was going to come out, I thought, okay, this is going to be another story of these three people stalking this family. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same suspense in it. It wasn't the same amount of thrills because the other movie, The Strangers, was actually confined to one house and the barn, I guess, right next to it. But this movie kind of went all over the place. They traveled from place to place, and it just, it didn't have that suspense that kept you on the edge thing that the original had, okay? Because that, just had a limited amount of characters, limited amount of areas. But this one they went, they kind of traveled and stuff, and it didn't make it as good as the original. Again, the suspense wasn't good, the killings weren't as good. Okay, it wasn't the depth of stalking and stuff that you got in the first movie that made this movie not as good, and just really inferior sequel to me. And it seemed like they killed those three people way too easy. Okay, rather, at least in the other movie, you felt like the couple, that these people were like basically a ghost. They had no shot, and eventually they really didn't because they all got killed. But anyway, the next movie on my list is Goosebumps 2, which of course is a sequel to the one that came out a few years ago with Jack Black in it. And the guy, I forgot his name, the actor who was on 13 Reasons, and he was in it, and another young actress, I forgot her, but she was really good. She played Jack Black's daughter in it. And then there was the guy that was the guy from 13 Reasons, his best friend, who provided a lot of the comedy and stuff in it. But this movie, Goosebumps 2, this one took place a few years later, and it was about this guy, young teenage guy, the guy that was from It, the guy that played the heavyset guy, him and his best friend, the black guy, I don't know his name, and the guy's sister. It was they were the three main characters. Sister was obviously getting ready to graduate high school, go to college, and all that stuff. And again, this one wasn't as good. Jack Black, in fact, was in this movie. Basically, he was completely wasted in this movie. So unless they cut out some deleted scenes and stuff for him, I don't even know why they had him in the movie. First, they kept him completely out of the marketing for the movie, Jack Black completely, and he shows up in the movie for I think like 2 or 3 scenes, and it's just really a waste of his character. It would have been a better movie, I think, if they would have brought him in, maybe like a half hour into the movie or something. It would have been a better movie. But they basically wasted Jack Black. I don't know if contractually he had to appear in the sequel or something, so they had to come up with something real quick for him to do, and they basically wasted Jack Black's character. It's basically about the dummy coming back to life and them raising the dead and all that stuff, and them having his kids having to fight them. It was okay, but it wasn't as good as the original. Had because you had that story of Jack Black actually making up his daughter and stuff, which was really another added layer to it, and it kind of gave the movie more depth feeling to it. This one was just a little bit silly, okay, and just not as good as just not as good. The original Goosebumps was just a really good, compelling story, okay, about the the guy moving into the house and then finding out liking the girl that next door, and then her father, he didn't know who he was at first, and then you find out he's R.L. Stein, and he's writing these books and all this stuff. It was a nice story that unfolded. This one just didn't have that same oomph to it. Okay, so that's why it was disappointing to me. Now the next movie is Pacific Rim Uprising. Now I love the original Pacific Rim. I thought that was good. Benicio del Toro, Guillermo del Toro. He directed that one, and I know it didn't make as much money, I think, in the States, but I think it made a lot of money overseas. So, we wasn't sure if they were going to make a sequel to it, but they actually did make a sequel to it. But of course, he didn't direct this one. But this one was starring John Boyega, of course, from the Star Wars movies, the new Star Wars movies. He was like sort of the star of it, okay, or the most recognizable star in the movie. And this movie was, the only good thing about this movie was completely terrible dialogue, okay, completely horrible performances from the actors and stuff. Just, I mean, really badly written and just horrible performances from the actors. The only good thing about this movie, saving grace about this movie, is that most of it took place in the daytime, so you could see the robot fights. Those were the best things. That was the best thing about this movie, that you could actually see the fights, which was everything. Because as much as I love Pacific Rim, the nighttime fights were good, and you can see them for the most part. But some of them sort of still had that same Transformers feel to it, that you can't see everything that's going on. Everything's crash, boom, bang. At least with this movie, you could actually see the actual, everything took place in the daytime, so you could actually see the fights. But overall, they didn't develop the characters. The young recruits that were being trained, they didn't even really develop them that much, so you didn't really care if they died, really. When they died, you didn't get that. And then the little pissing contest between John Boyega and, I think, not Scott Eastwood, Scott Eastwood was supposedly his old friend that he walked away from this training thing. They were getting into like a pissing contest, and they did try to do a little triangle, which they didn't even develop the triangle good enough with another female cadet, which wasn't even really developed. Okay, and just again, horrible writing, horrible acting in this movie. Again, the best things about it was the fights with the robots and the monsters, but that's about it. Other than that, it was completely forgettable. Okay. Anyway, the next movie on my list is Hellfest, which going in, I shouldn't really expect it. I shouldn't really expect it that much for, because it's a low budget horror movie, but still, it was really, really weak. Basically about this girl that comes back to visit her friend, and they get invited to Hellfest, this traveling horror show that actually they show you in the pre-log, I guess before the Ray movie starts, that there's somebody going around, there's some dude wearing a mask going around actually killing people at these horror fests. Okay, which you think if that would have happened once, there's no way in the world the cops are going to let another one go on. Okay, that's just fact. Even though they supposedly didn't find the bodies, but come on, if somebody disappears from this Hellfest thing, that thing's going to get investigated, and people are not going to have another one. Okay, they're not going to do it. First of all, because insurance company's not going to take a chance. Okay, but you got to kind of let that go and go with the movie, right? And basically, this girl who comes back to her friends, and of course, there's a guy that she likes, of course, obviously, and she goes with her other friends, and they go in the park, and then she winds up getting stalked by this guy with this mask on, who amazingly can get into places that other people can't get into. He can obviously, he's just a guy with a mask. He doesn't really work for the park as far as we know, but he can magically go into places that no other people can go into, and get to places that, again, which makes completely no sense. And of course, he stalks her friends to try to eventually get to her, and winds up killing a bunch of her friends and stuff. And of course, the kicker of this thing is that the two girls, they get away, and the guy gets away, and then the big reveal at the end, which they thought, I don't know, the movie makers probably thought they were clever with it, that you see the guy going off, and he drives home. He pulls up to this suburban house, and you see a little girl sleeping, and you think, oh well, maybe he's going to kill her or something first. And you wonder what's happening. And then you see him take off the mask and put it in with a bunch of other masks, and you see he's just a regular dude. For some reason, they thought, I guess it was a big twist, that he's just a normal guy. I guess that you'd think, oh, well, serial killers can be anybody, normal guys, which I guess in a way you do have a point about that. But come on, it was really, the kills were stupid, and the guys, the people that were getting killed were stupid, and you didn't care about them at all. They were really annoying. Her friends were really, really annoying. Okay, so again, when you have to care about characters, you don't care about whether they get killed or not, and the killer does things that makes no sense. you kind of roll your eyes at certain things, but again, just yeah, even though I wasn't expecting much from it, it still was completely blah to me in terms of a good horror movie. Uh, Now, next movie on my list is Hereditary. Now, this movie had a real good cast in it. Toni Collette, Gabriel Byrne, I think, was in this as well, and I'm trying to think who else was in this. I think that was the two main uh, big stars of this movie. And basically, it's about this woman who, Toni Collette, who she lives with her husband Gabriel Byrne, and her daughter and her teenage son. And apparently, her mother. The movie opens with her mother dying and stuff, and it's supposed to be about you can't escape things from your past, that hereditary, that things are passed on, and all these weird things start happening in this movie which kind of make no sense at all, and the deaths come and they don't make sense, and you're scratching your head wondering if this is all going to lead to something, and then when you get to the end part with the climax where you're supposed to learn what this is all about, it really is. You go, what the hell? You basically go, why did I waste all this time? Because you thought it would lead to something, okay, but it really didn't lead to anything. It led to basically to this cult, apparently a cult that her mother was a part of, and basically, apparently, her grandson got reincarnated with these cult members. It made zero sense to me. I mean, really, really made zero sense. Just got too cultivated and just. It didn't make no sense, okay? And it's a shame because the talent in the movie is good. Like Toni Collette's a good actress and Gabriel Byrne as well, but it made no sense, okay? Basically her grandmother or her mother, the late Toni Collette, her mother was involved in this cult, and basically for some reason they chose them to get resurrected, and the son wound up getting he wound up getting possessed and resurrected as a cult member, which didn't make sense at all, okay? So that was a waste of time. Now, the next movie on my list is Proud Mary. Proud Mary starred Tara P. Henson. She works for Danny Glover, and I think it's supposed to be in Chicago or somewhere, but she's this hit woman and stuff, and apparently she winds up, I think, killing the guy's, this little kid's father, I think, if I'm remembering this right, but basically, this movie, she's a hit woman, and she basically, this young kid that's become an orphan, she kind of takes him under her wing, and it really is first of all, the movie's too short, okay, and they really don't delve into the character that much. You don't really get any character development from Tara P. Henson, which really kind of sucks because she's good. She's a good actress. Danny Glover's a good actor, and the actor who played Danny Glover's son, he's a really good actor too. But basically, she's hiding this little kid from the mob who wants to get him because I think he witnessed something. But it makes no sense that she goes all out of her way. I guess it's supposed to be like she finally finds her maternal instinct and takes care of this kid, and she basically blows up her life to save this little kid. Okay, which again, it would have made sense. I guess it's supposed to be. I guess like if you've ever seen the movie Gloria, I guess that would be the equivalent of this, or excuse me, similar to what this was supposed to be. But it just failed on every level because it was, first of all, it was horribly written. Okay, way too short. Okay, and Tara P. Henson's character does things that makes no sense. Okay, she basically blows up her life for this little kid. Okay, it would make more sense if they developed the character more, so you could understand why she would do this, why she would risk everything for this little kid. Okay, but they didn't, and the movie suffered for it. Okay, next movie on my list is Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, this movie again was from Drew Goddard, who did I forgot the other movie the horror movie that he did with Chris Hemsworth a few years ago, which I can't remember now. Cabin in the Woods. Okay, that's it, Cabin in the Woods. But anyway, this movie again had a great cast in it. Jeff Bridges, Chris Hemsworth, what's the girl from 50 Shades of Grey? She was in it too. Dakota Johnson, and a couple other people, which I can't remember on the top of my head. Oh yeah, John Hamm was in it as well. But it was supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be taking place in the 60s, okay, and it had all these various different characters coming together at this one place, the El Royale, this hotel, and of course things were not as they seem. You had one character kidnapping a sister from a cult. You had this young singer that was coming there by Cynthia. I forgot her name. Cynthia Vergara. I think that was her name. She was coming there to sing. Get a singing break. And then you had Jeff Bridges, who was coming there. He was like this bank robber who got locked up. He pulled a heist years ago, and supposedly the money had been buried in this hotel. And he's coming there disguised as a priest to get the money. And John Hamm was an FBI agent who was tracking this. And again, the story got too cultivated. It got too ambitious, I guess you could say, in a way. They kind of, instead of making it straightforward, they had all these side plots coming in left and right. And then Chris Hemsworth was this cult leader, again, that just, for some reason, he's tracking this one girl down, okay, which, again, never makes sense for this cult leader who's in charge of all these people and stuff. He's going to risk everything, to come look for one girl. Okay, that makes zero sense, okay? But he did it anyway. And, of course, there's a fire, shootouts, and people dying, and it just got too cultivated, and it wasn't as good as Cabin in the Woods at all. It's a shame because Drew Goddard is a good writer-director, but this was a disappointment. I expected more from this movie, and it didn't live up to the hype. Okay, the next one on my list is Solo: A Star Wars Story. This movie, of course, had a lot of behind-the-scenes trouble. The directors were fired. Lord and Miller, they were fired. I think part way through filming of this, and then Ron Howard took over. And so basically, this is a solo story of Han Solo. In the beginning when he was younger, his character was younger. Again, nobody asked for this movie. But they decided to make a movie anyway about Han Solo. And now the actor who actually, I forgot the actor's name who they cast as Han Solo. He wasn't bad, and he wasn't bad per se, but this movie really didn't add anything much to the Star Wars legend to me, and it's like a movie that didn't need to be made. I mean, really didn't need to be made, and it suffered for it because they had it. They kind of get you to see his first meeting with Chewbacca and all this, and try to tell you where he came from, but when it really didn't tell you where he came from and why he was the way he was, and it just the story was just it was just not. It wasn't exciting. The other girl from Game of Thrones, Daenerys, she was in it, and she was okay, but it really was, the movie was just blah. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like you expect a Star Wars movie to pop, to zing and pop, but it didn't. It didn't do this for me at all, which is a disappointment because you kind of expect more from a Star Wars movie, but this one just didn't live up to the. I thought Rogue One was a better movie. Okay, I thought that one made better sense to me than this one. So, and again, it was a disappointment. And again, maybe that had to do with the behind-the-scenes stuff, and maybe they should have kept Lord and Miller, and maybe what they would have done would have been better than what they had Ron Howard finish up with. Okay, but this one was, just a disappointment to me. Now, the next movie on my list is Den of Thieves. This movie came out in January. I think it came out in January this year. So I guess it shouldn't be too surprised with it. It was supposed to be sort of like, I guess, Heat in a way, about these cops and the bad guys, and they're eventually, they're clashed to meet head up. That's why I said this is a poor man's Heat. Okay, the movie that Michael Mann did years ago with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and Val Kilmer and stuff. And this was, I think, this was like a poor man's version of it. It had Gerard Butler in it. He was in it. Ice Cube's son, he was in it. 50 Cent was in it. Again, so you didn't have the best actors going for it. And again, the cop characters weren't likable, and I guess they weren't supposed to be likable because they're doing a kind of a dirty job. And the thieves weren't that likable either. But you got to have some people that are charismatic. And the lead guy that was on the thieves side, I forgot the actor's name. I mean, he was devoid of chemistry. I'm sorry, he's not charismatic. The guy with the beard, I don't know what his name is. What his name is? The actor. He was like the leader of this gang, and he had a beard and stuff. But I'm sorry, he had no charisma at all. Okay. Even Ice Cube's son, to me, was a better actor in this movie than him. And 50 Cent, well, I'm sorry, 50 Cent just plays 50 Cents all the time. He can't act. Okay, I'm sorry, that's just fact. 50 Cent can't act. I know he played a character one time that was losing weight and stuff, but he can't. I'm sorry, 50 Cent can't act. Okay, and if it wasn't for the the shootouts in this movie would be a complete snooze fest. Okay, it was just again, I think they tried to be like Heat, tried to do like a real crime drama thing, and then they had this twist at the end with Ice Cube's son, which I wasn't buying that. I wasn't buying that twist at all. Okay, there's too many things that would happen that make that twist that had to have happened to make that twist believable. Okay, and it wasn't to me, in my opinion. Okay, so Den of Thieves. Okay, let's see. I think the last movie on my list would be Gringo. This is the movie with what's her name? Jeez, the guy who played Martin Luther King and David Oyelowo. I think that's his name. He's a British actor. It was him. It was him. Hold on, I gotta remember who else is in this. Charlize Theron, she was in it. What's the guy's name? I can't remember his name to save my life. Basically, it's about this this couple. No, it's basically about David Oyelowo's character. He worked for this drug company, and his wife was cheating on him. He worked for Charlize Theron, and I forgot the other actor's name. I can't remember his name now. But they were working for them, and they wanted him to go to Mexico to deliver this drug pill. And it just got complicated. It was supposed to be like a dark comedy where this guy, David Oyelowo's character, he's like this poor, sad guy whose wife is cheating on him. He's about to go bankrupt and stuff. His company's got to fire him and stuff. He got all these bad things going against. Amanda Seyfried was in this as well. All these bad things were going up against him. And then he goes down to Mexico, and he winds up escaping these, these drug dealers who want to kill him. Okay, and it gets really complicated. They send a hitman after him to try to rescue him once he gets kidnapped. The drug company, Charlize Theron and her partners, they send his brother down there to try to rescue him from the kidnappers. It got really complicated, and it was supposed to be like a dark comedy, but it was just, again, way too got too cultivated, got too complicated. Okay, when you have these dark comedies, it's supposed to be simple, and I know he's supposed to be this poor put upon guy that eventually he gets the best of everyone. He escapes with the money, but too many wacky things had to happen for him to come out at the end of it, which makes no sense. Okay, and it was really disappointing because you have a really a good cast in it, like David Oyelowo, Amanda Seyfried was in it. Charlize Theron was in it. Hold on. I'll tell you who else was in it. Hold on. Gringo. Hold on. I'll tell you in a minute. Who else? Hold on. Who else? Who was else? Hold on. Hold on. I'll tell you who else. Hold on. Hold on, September, hold on. Where is it? Hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. Wait, hold on, I'll tell you, because the actor's really good, and he's directed a lot of stuff that's good. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, I'll tell you the actor. I can't remember his name now. Hold on. December, hold on. It'll come to me. Hold on. What's his name? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, one more time. What's his name? Okay, it's gonna kill me. I gotta remember the names, the actor's name. Hold on. What is it? Hold on. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Joel Egerton. That's his name. I can't remember. Remember his Joe Egerton? He was in it too. It was him and Charlize Theron. They were like, running the company, and they were the ones that sent him down there. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Same like with Joe Egerton. He's a good actor. He's actually a good actor, a good writer and director now. But Gringo was, ugh. Again, too many wacky things had to happen to make the ending of that movie happen, which didn't make any sense. So those are my most disappointing movies of 2018. Like I said, I guess if I said no particular order, but I guess the worst of those movies would have to be The Strangers. Pray at Night, because that movie was such a disappointment from the Strangers movie. Because that movie, Strangers, was a great movie, and this movie, Strangers Pray at Night, was god awful. Okay, so I think that would be the worst movie that I actually saw. There were certain movies that I didn't go see because I knew they're going to be horrible, like Clockers. I had no desire to see that because I knew it was going to be horrible. From the trailer, I knew it was going to be horrible. But anyway, let me know what you think of. What's your most disappointing movies of 2018 that you saw? Let me know. Feel free to leave comments down below and let me know what you think. And I have links to my social media in the description box, my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram. Also have a link to my other channel called Views and Opinions. Please check that out as well. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.